You become the Wish version of someone else's channel for like a month and suddenly he dips. That's right folks, Sarcastic Chorus just announced that he's done with the Helluverse, being so annoyed, mostly by Helluva boss, that even Hazbin Hotel ended up on his chopping block. In his most recent video, he talks about what led him to this decision, criticizing big parts of the show in the process. I've been watching his episode reviews from the very start, agreeing with him most of the time, so is he right? One of his biggest complaints is how Helluva Boss shifted its focus from hit jobs to character-based drama, which in itself wouldn't be a terrible idea. It could definitely work. However,
you can't center a story around the flaws of its main characters, then refuse to meaningfully engage with those flaws.
Even though I disagree with one of the examples he gives after this, I absolutely agree on his overall point. It is something I myself have criticized mainly Stolas for. Looking back, it seems like they started out with their idea of Stolas being a severely depressed elitist, with very little regard for Blitz's emotional or even physical well-being. In the very first episode, Stolas calls Blitz, who is being actively chased down by a woman with a shotgun. Stolas hears this, but completely ignores the sound of the several gunshots, instead using this time to coerce Blitz into sleeping with him, quote-unquote offering the deal that Blitz may use the Grimoire to access the human world if they have sex once a month. Blitz straight up isn't able to say no to this, not only because, to reiterate, there is a woman chasing him down with a shotgun, but also because IMP was obviously dependent on the Grimoire. And remember how imps are treated, even by Stolas, who calls Blitz his little imp, which gives me, a white suburban kid, the creeps. Hey, do you remember when Stolas said this?
I don't look down on you! How many times do I... When have I ever...
Yeah... It turns out they kinda effed up by making Stolas a despicable wavy creep from day one, only to then decide to turn him into the second most important character in the show, who is also the now partner of the main character. Transitioning from one into the other would be difficult for borderline brilliant shows like BoJack Horseman or Arcane, and while I love Helluva Boss, even at its peaks, it tends to be more of a disaster bomb than a well thought out and coherent story. So with that in mind, how does it address it?
But maybe it's all on me for missing every sign and every glance and every turn. No, he's a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's it. And all of this happens during an episode that is entirely about Blitz owning up to his mistakes. And then we just kinda move on. Stolas, being a racist elitist who has coerced Blitz into sleeping with him on a regular basis, is just kinda shoved under the rug. If I were a person who has not only put hours of thought into these two, but even made multiple videos on them, I would be pissed too. This alone would be reason enough to quit the show. But how badly the story addresses its characters' mistakes goes a step further with Mastermind.
We get opportunities to explore the flaws and mistakes of the characters, only for the story to pick the least challenging option possible so the two never look too bad. And Relphus is evil and accuses Blitz of the only crimes he didn't commit against Hell.
What about Stolas lending Blitz his Grimoire? What about negligence? What about the fact that Blitz exposed demonkind to the human world? Stolas knows this. He was there with him. Or in Sinsmas, an episode I actually love, where Octavia confronts Stolas. But not for being a neglectful father, we can't be too harsh on him for his actual flaws, so let's vaguely say he lied, and then put a lot of emphasis on him needing antidepressants. The show wants dramatic moments in which our characters are confronted while refusing to even acknowledge their actual wrongdoings.
Which touches on another issue where the story keeps hinting at nuance, only to choose the most simplistic angle possible.
I can't give a better example than he already does, being Fizz and Blitz's feud. They were revealed to be best childhood friends. Blitz was in love with him. Then he caused him to get severely hurt by being blown up and partially burned alive, so Fizz hated him ever since. But actually, Blitz wanted to visit him in the hospital and was lied about Fizz not wanting to see him, so water under the bridge.
Look, misunderstanding or no, it's hard to just forgive you. It's been 15 years.
Shut up, drama queen, we both know you can. The next time we see him, he is somewhat grumpy about Blitz being there, and from there on, they are just back to being best buds again. Let's cover one last, but in my opinion, the most important point.
I think the story loses me in how it wants to have it all. To have the big emotional moments of social commentary, unpacking all this trauma, then be a comedy that switches between jokes to abuse on a dime. The feels are there, but I'd argue that some of these big emotional scenes feel low-key manipulative, since they don't really have the scaffolding to help them stand on their own.
This one is kind of a mixed bag in my eyes. I agree that the story wants too many things at the same time. By far the biggest gripe I have with the show is how it switches moods on a dime. Let's take a look at one of the emotionally most gut-wrenching moments in the series, with one of the worst examples of tonal whiplash.
I don't understand. You think you're gonna just get to walk away from this family and never come back? You're dead wrong, Mox. That obnoxious piss stain can't get made. Not unless he marries in. Marries? But who would he? Who do you think? Sir, I'm already married. I can't. You think I give a shit about your stupid beard? Come on, Mox. I even went through the trouble of making the house more to your kind's liking.
Moxie talks to his dad, who wants to force him to marry against his will and physically abuses him, and then, hey look, there's dildos everywhere, isn't that funny? No? That moment instead only massively undercuts the emotional effect it built up. Okay, I promise we can do better. Let's keep watching.
Let this be your lesson, Moxie. This is what happens when you cross me. Now get to bed, Moxie. Yes, sir. Oh, and Mox, if you ever talk back to me again, you and that pretty little thing you brought here are going home in boxes. Capiche? Yes, sir.
X's and O's is both one of my favorite and most hated episodes of the series. Sarcastic Chorus called out the show for having impulse control problems, and goddamn, that's so true. I talked about this problem in the last 2 episode reviews and even made a big deal out of something this braindead not happening for once in Sinsmas, because it honestly surprised me, especially after watching Mastermind. To this extent, I 100% agree with what he said, a lot more than I would like. However, the other part of his claim was that Helluva Boss doesn't earn its emotional scenes, and I have a hard time seeing that as the problem here. What we just watched was earned, there's no way around acknowledging that, and I would say that is the case, with the exception of Mastermind, which is just a bundle of missed chances and dumb decisions a majority of the time. The problem isn't that when we get to these hard-hitting emotional moments that they aren't earned, it's that they are constantly undercut and, to put it simply, badly written some of the time. Octavia confronting Stolas was absolutely earned. What exactly she was mad about though was kinda dumb. The man loves her, yes, but he is also shown to be neglectful of his daughter every single time she appears. In Lululand, that is their whole plot. In Seeking Stars, that is the whole plot again. And in Mastermind, when Stolas gets banished, he just straight up forgets to call his daughter for the rest of the day. Instead of talking about this, we get the "you need antidepressants" line I already complained about. Or when Stolas gets carried to the hospital at the end of Western Energy and Blitz is shocked that Stolas can actually get hurt. That is an earned moment. I just hate to admit that it is one, because the way the show got to the point of earning it was to let Blitz completely ignore Stolas being kidnapped and possibly assassinated to have a fun comic relief "let's take the scared doggy to the vet" B-plot at the same time. These moments are earned. The way they are handled just kinda sucks though. Like I said, there are a lot more small points Sarcastic Chorus brings up. After all, his video complaining about the show is longer than my video explaining what he said, but stuff like Stolas was meant to be depressed, lonely and isolated. So what are we doing throwing in a random supportive friend that comes out of nowhere for what's essentially a few throwaway lines? Just does not give me the opportunity to say more than, yeah, why did we do that? If you want to check out these smaller claims in detail, and if for some reason you clicked on my video without having seen his, it is of course linked down below. In general, it's justified, but I'm quite sad about him not covering the Helluverse anymore. I still remember watching his sarcastic summaries of Hilda, as well as all his videos on Shiva almost 5 years ago. I can't even remember how I got into Helluva Boss anymore, but looking back, I actually think it might have been because I saw one of his videos on the show. He is obviously one of the biggest influences for this channel, and I will miss his videos. And even though I'm talking about him like he just died, I will definitely keep watching him cover other shows. But if you need a new channel that talks about the Helluverse and reviews episodes, I guess you'll have to settle for me from now on. If you don't want to miss my videos on Helluva Boss, Hazbin or other shows like The Amazing Digital Circus, please subscribe and leave a like.